What's going on, everybody? I'm Patrick from POWLAX, and in this video we're going to be going over wristers. So wristers is a drill / way to play wall ball that really emphasizes how a player should use fakes and finish with very little room, very little space inside, which is just crucial to being a good box player. As most of you know, the biggest difference between field lacrosse and box lacrosse is the space. You just don't have as much space to really wind up and get a huge shot off in box most of the time, especially if you're in the middle of the field, which is where you want to shoot for the most part. Wristers are probably the best way to teach players the technique and speed required to fake and finish inside. If you want to follow along on the PDF, you can download that by clicking this link up in the corner and going to patreon.com/POWLAX. While you're there, make sure to become a patron of POWLAX to contribute to the creation of these videos and just keep them going. One thing about the PDF before you get over there and download it is that it's a PDF that doesn't really describe the drill because there's really not too much to describe. It's a lot more of just pictures of how the techniques actually work. The first thing that we're going to cover is setup, and I really struggled to figure out how to really display how we set this up on a whiteboard. It was super complex. So basically, each player is going to get a ball. So you need enough balls for all of your players. And then they're going to find some space on a wall, and they're just going to play wall ball. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to integrate a lot of these techniques as the players are playing wall ball. This was essential to all of the box practices that I really run. Is once a player comes and is a part of one of our teams, they understand right away that right when they step on the floor, they are meant to find a space on the wall and start doing these wristers. Now, with all of these balls flying around, it can definitely be a little bit of mayhem. Check out this short video of one of our high school practices from last year. Now that everybody understands how to set it up, which I'm sure everyone thought was just super difficult, we're going to talk about wristers and why we want to use them while incorporating kind of what the goal and the goalie look like during games, and then we're going to go through the form that we want to use while we're teaching just the original wristers. And as we go through all of these techniques, we're going to have live video from a President's Cup game, a Man Cup game, and a USA versus the Iroquois exhibition match. So the first part is wristers. Why do we want to teach them? Well, the reason we want to teach them is because there's a lot less space, and we want to teach players how to get their shot off in tight space with a lot of speed. So the other part about wristers is that we really want to emphasize coming over the top. If you think about a goalie who is standing in his goal, the thing about it is that you're always going to have a side open. And so as much as we as coaches teach players to shoot overhand because it's more efficient or whatever, sidearm shots work too. But the way I like to describe it is if I'm standing in the middle of a goal and I'm a goalie, whether I'm field or box, there's a lot of open space to the side here and to the side here. So my going over the top, if I'm aimed at one of those sides, odds are I'm going to hit some part of open net. Now, if I shoot sidearm, you basically have release points where you're hitting net, hitting the goalie, hitting net. And so that's how I like to explain it to my players. We want to go up and down because we're aiming for sides. A lot of coaches like to say paint the pipes, and that's exactly what we're doing. So in box, one of the biggest things is they're going to be moving from left to right to cover up one of the pipes and then try to get over to cover the other pipe. And if we are using our snapping technique and putting it vertically down, odds are if we can just paint that pipe, we're going to score a lot of goals. So in box, one of the things I like to tell my players to do is they need to shoot hips. It's the exact same as it would be in field lacrosse. You want to shoot hips because as a goalie is trying to make a move in box, a lot of times they're going to use their elbows. They're going to use their body, but it's really hard to move hips. It's the same thought process on why defensemen want to play hips to push people out. It's a lot harder to move your hips than it is your arms, your elbows, things like that. Now we're going to talk about the form of our wristers. So the first thing that we want to make sure our players are doing is that their shoulders are square to the goal. In a lot of the highlights we'll see later, you'll see that the players' shoulders are square to the goal. They don't want to be turned out like this, take a step and turn. That's not a wrister, that's just regular wall ball. The next thing we want to make sure that they're doing is that they have their butt end pointed at the wall and then their stick is along their collarbone. And as this is happening, one of the things kids struggle with is that their bottom hand has to get across their body. So their bottom hand should be right in line with their shoulder and whatever point on the wall that they are trying to throw the ball to. Next, as far as form, is that you can have players step into their pass or their wrister, or you can have them step side to side depending on what kind of technique you're working on. So if a player is coming across the face of goal, maybe they're going to be shuffling their feet. Maybe they just cut through the middle and they catch a ball and now they're coming straight at it, so they're stepping forward. Finally, as far as form, and we want to cover this before we get into faking, is that players need to have their stick in their fingers. So it's basically the upper palm of my hand, and then I wrap my fingers around it. We don't want to have players who have their palm on the majority of the stick. And this is because as we get into faking, if I have my palm on it, I got to turn my wrist a ton. We don't really want that. We want to have it in our fingers so that as we're throwing these fakes, we can roll our fingers over, and it just gives us a lot more mobility as we are faking. Now, as far as executing the wristers, what we want to do is we want to have players start by just getting to this collarbone position and holding it. We want them to become very familiar with having their stick here so that their throw mechanics can be right. If they're not starting from the right place, they're never going to throw a wrister over the top right. So if they're holding their stick down here, they may come through that spot, which is what we ultimately want. But if they don't start correctly, they're not going to have the best form. So now as we're throwing our wristers, we basically just want to use our wrist. We want no shoulder turn. We just want them to snap their bottom hand to their top hand elbow and their top hand over. So a lot of times we'll have all the players take a knee and they'll just be in the collarbone position and they'll just snap over and they'll point their stick. Now, as we get into actual wristers, now they're going to be here. They're going to snap their bottom hand to their top hand elbow and they're going to come all the way through. Now, as players are going through these wristers, they're basically going to set up, throw their wrister, catch the ball, come back up, get to their spot, hold for a second, and then come through. As they progress, then they can get into catching the ball, one cradle, throwing their wrister. Now we're going to show a couple clips of some high-level box players executing this wristers form. And what you'll notice with all of these is that they don't have a lot of time. They got to just catch it, get it to their collarbone, and finish. We see this really great up pick, and as the player slips into the goal, he receives the feed, catches, gets it in and out of his stick quickly. The next clip is of the President's Cup, and we've got a nice little transition play and 2-on-1. Notice how quickly this player gets the ball in and out of his stick, comes straight over the top, and finishes. Our final clip is also from the President's Cup, and we're on a bit of a man-up situation here, and you see this nice little nifty BTB to a backside cutter. He catches it, finishes super quick. Now we're going to get into faking, and at first I really want to clarify something important. This is not what I like to call a field fake, where as a defenseman is playing me, I throw my stick wild over the top, throw a fake, and then maybe dodge past him. It is a very small fake where the butt of my stick should never come and face me. So I'm not faking over the top here, I'm making little tiny fakes. And the main concern we have with how far out we throw our fakes is time. So in some of these clips where these professional players are throwing their fakes, they're going to throw their fake out to here, but it's not here. And the reason why they have the ability to throw it out here is because they've created time for themselves, whether it was on a 2-on-1 break or whether they bodied their player enough to where he lost his balance. Now he could come up and have the time to throw the fakes. But for the most part with our players, they're already going to throw the fake way out here. So we want them to really try to keep their fakes nice and tight. To make these little fakes, it's extremely important, like we talked about a little before, that my fingers are what are making the stick turn. And so one of the things you'll see with a lot of players is that they really like to throw this over the top fake where their bottom hand is turning. Some very good box players can throw great fakes where they're turning it over and they come around to finish there. I really don't like most of our players doing it because once they turn their stick over, a lot of them are very bad at getting the stick back. And so for this, I like all of our players to use what I call cradle fakes, which if they're cradling in front of their body, their hands are going to do the exact same motion. So they're actually just going to turn their top hand over and kind of pull their top hand out. Now, one of the things I've heard a lot as far as faking is that it's either top hand or bottom hand. really both hands are doing it. I can make a fake with my bottom hand, I can also make a fake with my top hand, and I can really do them either way. But so for how I teach it, every fake we throw is going to be a cradle fake. Now we're going to watch a clip from the Man Cup with a nice little 4v3 trailer break where as the ball is moving, a player steps upfield and you see how subtle he can be with his fakes. Our advantage comes in, guy hits the trailer, passes down. Now as this player carries up, see how subtle he fakes before he puts it in the net. Now the other thing that I like to explain to the players through asking them questions about what they're trying to do when they're faking is why exactly are we faking? And the reason why we're faking is that we want to get someone, most likely the goalie, to move, to bite towards one side. So as we throw our fakes, all we're trying to do is get him to bite one way and then finish the other way. And so a lot of people call this freeze and finish. You've heard of dip and dunks. Now we're going to go near side, far side, because once again, we're aiming for these sides right here. So if we fake to one side, we want to finish on the other. And you can train it where you say left side fake, right side fake, but the problem is in box, all the players are trying to finish with their sticks to the middle. So lefties, if you guys are the goalie, lefties are standing like this and righties are standing like this. And in order to make it universal for everybody, we're going to go near side, far side. And so for the most part, near side fakes are always going to be fakes that are back towards the head of the player because this is the closest side of the goal to where I'm standing. Far side fakes are always going to be out of the shoulder. Now we're going to get into our near side fakes, and if we are faking to the near side, it means that we are going to be finishing far side. So as players begin, they're going to get their hands up, butt pointed towards the boards, stick in the collarbone position, and now as they're faking, they are going to use their shoulders and their head and their stick to fake this side. Now as they fake, they don't want to fake super far out here like we just mentioned. They just kind of want to come up their head and fake to the near side. One of the ways I like to describe this to my player is I want to go from my shoulder or my collarbone to the top of my head and then back. And one of the reasons why we don't want to come so far out here is that I really want to be able to shoot at any time. So if I fake to here and my stick is still pointed at the goal, I may still be able to get a shot off from that position. So now as players are faking near side and finishing far side, I like to have our players fake near side and then finish with just a wrister. I don't really want them to come out a lot as they're finishing at first. Eventually we'll get there, but to start, I really like for them to just use the fake, come straight over. Near side fakes and finishing far seems to be the favorite of most of the professional games that I've watched because the majority of our clips are going to be of this near side fake with a far side finish. So let's check out some of those videos. In our first clip, this Iroquois player gets a breakaway, and it's kind of hard to tell whether it's a near side or far side fake first because he's coming down the middle of the field, but I'm calling it a near side fake because it goes towards his head. And as he fakes, he actually messes with the goalie a good amount because he actually fakes near side and then looks like he's going to go far side, but then finishes near side again. Absolutely ridiculous play. Notice how because he has a lot of time, he can allow his stick to go out in front of his face before finishing. In this next clip of the Man Cup, he doesn't have as much time. We get a great little 1v1 with a face dodge, and now as he's coming in, see the subtlety of his near side fake before putting the ball far. Notice how much quicker this was and how he used less movement to fake and then put it in. Our next clip is of the Iroquois game again, and this is just a nice little 2-on-1 transition goal. See how quickly this player catches the ball, fakes near side, and finishes far side. So as he is coming across the face of goal, his near side fake really causes the goalie to jump, and then he has a nice easy lay-in far side. The next clip is of the President's Cup, and here we have another great face dodge. Now, this one is pretty cool because he does fake outward quite a bit, but it's because he actually knocks his defenseman off balance, which creates the time he needs to throw his fake in front of his face and then put it in far side. Finally, we have a clip of the President's Cup where we have a great up pick and slip or roll, and watch how quickly he catches it, fakes near, finishes far. Now we're going to go over the technique of far side faking. So this is one where I really like to have players step horizontally, so they're actually going to get to their collarbone position, they're going to step horizontally, and they're going to throw their fake. Now this fake is actually just going to come outwards. I don't really like for it to come up too much. I just like for it to come out to here, and then I'll have them stand back up and then finish straight over the top. Now, one of the really cool things about faking far and finishing near is that you can actually incorporate another whole shooting technique called a twister. So like the near side, far side finish, where I like players to finish over the top first, I'll do the exact same thing with our far side, near side finish. And so as players get a lot better, we're going to incorporate this twister, which as a player fakes far and he comes back, instead of stopping and coming straight through, he's actually going to twist his hands, come up around his head, and finish like this. Now the reason that we're going to incorporate this twister is because as we are playing, there are some times when we are moving across the face of goal and we need to increase the angle. So in the same way when we throw our near side fake here and then wrap the stick around the goalie, we do the exact same thing with our twister. So as we fake far, if we're getting rid of our angle, we can twister the ball back and get our stick to the middle of the field again. Another thing you can do with a twister is actually get around a defenseman by twistering it. If he's coming from this side, you can twister it around them. One of the biggest things with adding in twisters is that players really need to get their hands up so that their stick comes around their head and they can kind of come through. And so using this motion is kind of tough for players at first because they're not used to snapping their wrists. Check out this video of Mark Matthews doing kind of a practice warm-up session, really using his twister well. Now we're going to watch some videos of the far side fake with a near side finish. The first one will just be a far side near finish. The last two are going to integrate our twister. Our first clip is of the President's Cup in transition with a nice little 2-on-1. He receives the dump, immediately throws his far side fake, comes right up, finishes near side. Our next clip is actually of a delayed penalty where the team in white has pulled their goalie. That's why they have 6 players on the offensive side of the floor. What we get here is a nice little double pick play where the dodger is going to come through both picks. Watch how as he's dodging through the picks, he throws a nice little far side fake before twistering back around the defenseman and scoring. Our final clip is of a long-range twister from the Iroquois. Watch how as he steps into space, he shoots, it almost looks like it's just over the top, but he kind of corks his body to twister the ball to the low right side. Another great thing about wristers and utilizing these fakes is that you can integrate these fakes into other avenues of the game. Check out this clip from the Man Cup where as 2 players are running in, they get a 2-on-1, the player fakes away the slide and then takes a good shot on net. He doesn't score here, but it does show you how using fakes can keep defenders at bay. The final thing that we can add into our wristers set with these near side and far side fakes is our double fakes. So once goalies get good enough, especially if they scout players who they know really like to throw a single fake and shoot, is they won't even bite on the first fake. So at that point, we've got to start throwing double fakes. And so you can go near fake, finish near, or you can go far, near, finish far. So those are all the techniques that we're going to cover in this video, but because it's wall ball, you can integrate a ton of different techniques. And so you can do things like BTBs, lever passes, shuffle passes. You can even set them up where they're working on their question mark by having them with their backs to their goal, stepping away with their stick to the side, turning, and doing all of their question mark dodges. So you can really be very specific about the skills that your players learn, and because you're in the box, you might as well get them some extra wall ball time, and they'll learn to do these things so that they can use it in wall ball elsewhere. If you want to check out some more ideas about what you can do with wall ball, you can check out a video series that I did a long time ago called POWLAX wall ball. I'll link the playlist right up here, but it's kind of cheesy, it's pretty funny, it's got a lot of good information in it, but there are a lot of good ideas that you can utilize within wristers in this series of videos. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. Definitely let me know what you think of this video and the rest of the box series down in the comment section. Make sure to hit that like button, and then if you want to download that free drill PDF with most of the techniques on it, you can do that by clicking this link up in the corner. It'll take you to patreon.com While you're there, if you want to contribute to helping me create these videos, you can do that by hitting the Become a Patron link on the right side of the page. Once you click that link, it'll take you to sign up using either Facebook or an email. And once you have an account, you can donate as little as $1 a month. Have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next video.